Hello everyone, this is Jasmine, aka Gladiatorinsweats, and I'm here with the collective message for today, August 4th, 2018. So happy Saturday to everyone. As always, I hope everyone's doing alright and taking good care of themselves, staying hydrated, and I hope this reaches everyone well. So, just jumping straight into the reading today, the galactic signature is the white solar mirror. And so, first off, before I even get into the cards, I get this feeling or this notion of like the mirrors cracking, or that the cracks in the illusion, cracks in the games, cracks in the whole. If you consider, or if you look at life kind of like a mirror house, I just see it as cracks kind of coming through those mirrors, and light coming through, and really just a whole shift out of this paradigm. I've been talking about this for a while, of there being like a shift out of different paradigms, out of different mindsets, out of different belief systems, out of different patterns of thought, as far as the things that we may tell ourselves when it comes to the ego mind and the doubts and the fears that kind of creep up on us. But just getting straight into the cards, here with this Eight of Swords, I feel, again, as I was talking about, again, this focus on our self-imposed prisons, on the circles that we kind of stay in, how we stay in these ruts. And again, I don't even feel it's very much a conscious decision, but I feel consciously we're aware of the ruts, we're aware of the circles and the cycles and the patterns that we're ultimately playing in over and over and over, and shifting, realizing how to break out of these cycles with this Ten of Swords. But on the field, we have, I said on the field, we have plenty of like pentacles and swords energy. And so with this air and earth energy, I feel there's a change, again, as I was mentioning earlier, in our mental and our physical reality, ultimately, where it's kind of going back and forth, where I feel like the mental is affecting the physical, physical is affecting the mental. There's this very mutable, changeable, moldable energy that our reality is holding, where our perception is very shifty. It's very kind of all over the place. I don't even want to say all over the place, but it's very much like it's warping, it's changing. It's, again, how I feel maybe even in our belief systems. There's these little cracks in our belief systems. There's loopholes, if you will, where we're starting to see how certain things may not make sense for us any longer, or just don't fit our mindsets any longer. Not just that, but I feel these mirrors are also playing out in our relationships. And maybe we're becoming even more aware of that too, the way that there's a couple here in this Eight of Swords card. So maybe there's a separation that's going on between certain people in our lives, where it doesn't have to be, or this doesn't necessarily have to be some sort of permanent divide, but there could be some sort of separation taking place, stepping back in order to further assess the situation and seeing, again, how these cycles. I feel with the Six of Pentacles and this Princess of Swords in reverse, there's this unearthing, or there's this inner wealth or inner knowledge coming to the surface. There's possibly in the past, or even just in the recent past, where we just weren't very aware of what was going on. Maybe we were jumping to conclusions and not entirely certain of what's going on. I feel even just there's this feeling of maybe having been focused on one aspect of what was going on, and again, having to step back and seeing this greater picture, and seeing how the greater picture doesn't really all fit together. But I feel with this devil card, though, at the bottom of the deck for this entire spread, there's this release from like materialism, a release. There's this power control release, possibly from manipulation, but overall, I feel there's this release from these very 3D aspects. It could even be from some sort of sexual manipulation, and I don't even want to reference that in terms of like someone like drugging someone for some sort of sexual advancements or anything like that, but in the respect that maybe there's connections needing to be severed on a sexual level with certain people in our lives. But again, I don't even see it necessarily just as that. Underneath this devil, we do have judgment again and this 10 of Wands. So I feel there is this further release from these shackles, from these imprisonments, from this, sort of power manipulation that has been kind of locking people into this almost like sleepwalking phase of really just kind of going through the cycles, going through the motions, not really even being aware of what's taking place, or even the fact that you're even in a cycle and you're not just actually living your life as you would like to, or as you would love to, or just the way where your heart is, where your heart lies, and wanting to live from that sort of heart space. With this King of Pentacles at the bottom, there's this taking back of control, no longer being a slave to these external powers, these external sources. I feel, again, with the Six of Pentacles, it could be this like a compassion and prosperity of giving back to yourself being unearthed here. If perhaps you were maybe giving so much of yourself to other people or to other things, other entities. Ultimately, I feel there's this message of waking up from this spiritual or mental slumber, and just kind of being aware of what's really taking place and going on around you. I know Mars will be conjunct Lilith in a couple of days, as Mars is retrograde, and they will eventually conjunct at 0 degrees Aquarius. And I kind of want to talk a little bit more about that, but maybe I'll just put out like a short video or just a short message about that later on or later in the week. But I feel this heavy Lilith energy, this heavy like Kali, this catalyst energy. But it's not just like a catalyst, it's this feminine energy of relinquishing yourself from this power, this toxic masculinity. That's what I kind of feel, of just releasing yourself from these self-imposed prisons, releasing yourself from ways of thought that, again, don't serve you, that ultimately don't actually work out to creating the life that you want to live. Everything is all about your perception. And so, again, as I feel we're shifting our perceptions, as the light is kind of being shown on how shallow or illusionary some of our beliefs, or some of the ways that we see the world, the ways that we kind of think of things, how that can maybe be more disempowering and really kind of controlling and limiting the experience that we have here. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and end it there. So thank you so much for tuning in to my daily messages, to all those new as well as those returning. I'm always very appreciative, and I just get so very excited to do this for you guys. So not necessarily just for you guys, but for myself, and just being able to share these messages and share this info and knowledge with you guys. So as always, feel free and please do check out the description box for links and info on where to find me outside of YouTube, which is usually just Instagram. That's usually where you can find me, as well as, through email. But you can also check out my site for info on readings. I'm also working on putting out some new readings, and I don't even really like calling them readings. I really prefer to call them sessions, because it really is more of like a really one-on-one, intimate, really or not even just talking about, but the viewpoint from which I really approach things is not a very like linear or earthly approach. I really see things from a higher up perspective of really trying to see what it is that's ultimately trying to be shown to you. And that's really the viewpoint from which I take my readings of what is it that your higher self is wanting you to realize or understand or accept, or any of that. I focus on the self, because our experience is I see things as us being ultimately the role player in our own stories, and ultimately trying to see, okay, so this character is playing this part and they're helping me realize this, or they're creating this challenge spot so I can grow from this. And I really just see life as a stage and life as a play. So that's kind of the way that I take things. But all that to say, I am planning on really working on putting out some new sessions, or just really new choices of sessions for people to purchase, as far as like understanding your quote-unquote life path, which I guess when I refer to that, I'm referring to ultimately like, what is it that your heart is desiring? What is it that your higher self is wanting you to experience or learn? I don't really want to approach it from what is it that your higher self wants to accomplish, because we're not necessarily here to accomplish anything so much as to experience, and whatever is accomplished, or what have you, is kind of the bonus. But that's kind of just my perspective and my understanding. So regardless, I hope everyone has a wonderful a wonderful Saturday, and just an overall great weekend. And until next time.